Hello, America. Dan Davis, editor-in-chief of the Fabricator magazine, joined today by
Eric Lundin, editor of the Tube and Pipe Journal, and
Amanda Carlson, editor of the Welder magazine.
We are here to provide you with a preview of the upcoming issues of these two editors' publications, the Tube and Pipe Journal and the Welder. Specifically, we're talking about the January-February 2022 issues. Can you believe it? 2022.
Volume 32, number 1.
Okay.
It's the 32nd year of the Tube and Pipe Journal.
That is correct. Amanda, do you want to take a crack at yours?
Well, it's technically the 5th of the Welder because we redesigned. So I'm not sure, it might be 25 total between the Welder and PWT.
All right, then. Very good. They passed question 1. Question 2, how's your Kermit the Frog impression? No, we won't go down that road. It's already a train wreck already. You should have seen what was happening before. Anyway, get to it. Tube and Pipe Journal, you have a profile of a shop that has a new tube laser, Mr. Lundin. You want to give people an overview of it?
True. The company is H&S, formerly Hare and Stacey, in Pennsylvania. It is a mechanical contractor. Most mechanical contractors really don't have the volume to justify a laser cutting machine, and I think that was also true of H&S. They decided to branch out. So instead of just being a mechanical contractor, the company also is doing some manufacturing. So it is functioning like a bona fide metal fabricator. That gives it the volume to justify the laser. They started this with a sheet laser many years back, and then they decided to invest in a tube laser as well. Big risk because they didn't have a market. They didn't have customers. They didn't have any experience with laser cutting. So it was just risk. And it paid off so well that they have a second tube laser machine installed, and they have a second sheet laser on order.
I'm always intrigued by these shops that invest in tube lasers without necessarily being aligned with an industry segment, such as things that come to mind are exercise equipment, oil and gas type stuff. Do you see more of these shops doing that type of broadening of their offering base?
I think that's probably the key to the future. Obviously it depends on, where prices for the machines go,
right,
and the justification for it. But I did have a discussion with Brendan DiVincenzo of Bystronic, and he thinks that is the future, that there will be a deeper penetration of laser machines into smaller shops. In some cases, it is a matter of a shop farming out that work to another shop. And then when they feel like they've got sufficient volume that they're not taking for themselves, then they make the investment. In the case of Hare and Stacey, or H&S actually, now VioCity Group, they didn't have a market at all. So they just had to create the market from scratch. They did so by investing in large capacity machines so that they could avail themselves of the greatest number of customers. But to your point, I think for most fabricators, they do have a market. Yeah. It's simply, like I said, work that they outsource to another fabricator, right, and then eventually they bring it in-house.
What's the power on that laser?
Oh, details.
Dun, dun, dun.
4 kilowatt, I believe.
Okay, all right.
It doesn't have to be a huge number of
greater
watts.
Than 100 and less than 10,000.
It just doesn't need to be that high for the most part for doing
right,
most material, because it's a fiber laser. So
yeah. Cool. So, cover story for the Welder, January, February. You've got a profile of a real small business.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting, giving you guys background.
Yeah, so 3-person business. It's located out in Gardner, Massachusetts, which is near Boston. His name is...
Sorry.
Oh, man.
So embarrassing.
This is like...
How do you turn that off? Technical difficulties.
It's Eric's hairstylist.
My hairstylist.
If you say that again, I will blast you with my space demodulator.
Marvin the Martian, not Kermit. But go ahead, Amanda.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, his name is Jason Hoynish. The business is called Blue Barn, and he named it because there's a blue barn in his backyard, and that's where the shop
Don't
is.
see too many of those.
No, you don't. You sure don't. But his background is interesting. He was actually a violin maker for 13 years. He's just
Individual work for a company.
fail. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Fail. Now that's what your turn to
Always.
say. Fail.
Always
Yes,
admit it.
that?
Well, I said it
The
too.
correct phrase is, I will find out that answer at a later date.
True.
Violin maker. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, he's just a guy that I think can just build
He's
whatever.
a craftsman.
Yes, he's a craftsman, and he got tired of it. It was just too repetitive, and he
Yeah.
wanted to do something that was a little bit more creative. And he got into fabricating custom metal components for restaurants, like railings and countertops and benches and tabletops and such, and ended up loving it, and it grew. It just grew.
Self-taught?
He's got a background in metalworking,
Okay.
but a lot of it I think was self-taught.
Wow.
And he just had the right contacts within the Boston area, and of course Boston being the city that it is,
Right.
a lot of great restaurants,
Right.
up and coming restaurants. There was a niche there for him, and so that's kind of where it started.
Regional business, or does he kind of take it on the road
I
sometimes?
believe it's mostly regional.
Okay.
But I could find that out.
There you go. Thank you very much.
So it's high-end type of thing? So would he be the
Yeah.
Stradivarius of the kitchen equipment industry?
I'm not sure about that. I'll find that out as well.
You know
at a later
what? Maybe we'll get a call in a few seconds and somebody will give us their opinion on that. In the meantime, if we have questions, feel free and send it to us. We'll take them and provide you with instant feedback or you know what? We'll get back to you on that. So what else we got going in the January-February issue of the Tube and Pipe Journal, Eric?
We are rethinking everything we know about hydraulic tubing.
Hydraulic tubing is kind of interesting.
It's really interesting because in the small diameter ranges,
Correct. Very high tolerance.
there are not too many manufacturers of these products in the U.S. And the U.S. OEMs have relied on a lot of foreign sources for a very long time. Probably because it tends to be a labor-intensive type of undertaking, although there could be other reasons. So there is a hydraulic specification that is not maybe the best known. It is, I believe, Society of Automotive Engineers, J356.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a
It's not even written.
It's not written down.
Yeah, that's pretty
SAE
good.
J356A as well.
Paragraph 9 or section 3.
Thank you. So the 356 is made in batches, and so that is it's labor intensive because it has to be annealed and whatnot. There's a lot of material handling. The 356A is made in a coil form, and there is a way to anneal it on the tube mill. So the material feeds into the tube mill, and it comes off the tube mill, and it's ready to be shipped. So that is not labor intensive. It doesn't take up as much floor space, et cetera, et cetera.
Do those type of advancements make it more advantageous to probably manufacture more of this stuff in the U.S.?
That's the whole crux of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So bring that market or bring that production back to the U.S. by doing something that is not conventionally done. Now, the problem is that it takes a different end form because it has to do with the ID flash. So engineers would have to change the end form that they use on the hydraulic tubing itself, but that is not in any way insurmountable. There are plenty of end forms that are out there. And the author of this article, Win Carnes of, is it Carnes or Kearns? Carnes of Indiana Tube Corporation.
Please give us a call.
We need the correct pronunciation. Points out that some of the tube end forms the common hydraulic end forms we use these days, one of them dates back to the early days of the United States Army Air Corps. So we're going back to the 1920s. So the crux of the article is let's modernize all this.
Yes.
Or I will blast you with my space
There's
demodulator.
a lot of threats going on here. I'm not comfortable with that. But thank you anyway. What else are we looking forward with the January, February
This
TPJ?
is very heavy on weld preparation. So articles on cutoff and end prep, and then buyer's guides. Buyer's guides on one on bandsaw blades and one on bandsaws. So if you are looking for information on cutting or preparing tube for welding, this is the issue for you.
Yeah, and I will also make a plug in for our online buyer's guides. If you're searching for new machine tools or even software, tooling as well.
Some consumables and tooling.
Feel free and consult that at thefabricator.com. And if you go to thefabricator.com, you'll also see a new logo. And we're awfully proud of that logo, to the point where we actually put an ad in the January issue of the Fabricator with the new logo in it. So this is the work of one Billy Culpa. I'm sure Billy's a big fan of this. He watches it every time it's on. Yeah, he'll probably send us a note. But nice work there. And so feel free to visit thefabricator.com to get all the information you need to make your search a lot easier. Amanda, January, February 2022, the welder. What else are we looking for in that issue?
I wrote a story about adjunct welding instructors. I talked to 3 people: Bob Moffitt from Cali College, Joe Keene from WSU Tech in Kansas, and then Jim Thompson. He's a retired instructor from Alabama, and coincidentally, they all started their careers as adjunct welding instructors before going into the profession full time. So I just talked to them about, what does somebody interested in getting into teaching need to do as far as, the adjunct route. And for anybody that doesn't know what an adjunct instructor is, it's somebody that still has their day job or is still working in industry, but they're also splitting their time in the classroom teaching students. So adjunct staff are really they're great resources in the classroom because of that direct connection to industry. So we just talked a little bit about what to expect in the process of getting into a school and what you might need to know and all that good stuff. Ended up it was fun to write. And then Jim Mossman, our Jim's Cover Pass columnist, coincidentally, we didn't know we were both writing this together, but he wrote also his column about adjunct welding instructors. So it's a nice complementary piece.
So the thing, I've actually spoken with people that have made the transition, and sometimes they don't stick with it. Mm-hmm. What makes one a successful instructor?
I think there's a couple of things. I think first, you have to be able to convey your knowledge verbally. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They know what they're talking about, but they can't necessarily get it out in a way that's understandable. And then you also have to be able to identify the different learning styles of each student, because they're auditory learners, some have to see it done, some have to see and hear it. So you have to be really good at kind of identifying that. And then the other part is you just have to have, I think, you have to want to be a teacher. It has to be something that is pulling at you. And if you're doing it for the money, it's probably not going to work out.
It's got to be more than not wanting to do the production welding all the time anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Well, also your welder profile.
Yes.
Tell us about her.
So her name is Stacey Martinez. I found her on Instagram. I don't want to misspeak. I think is 605 Shield Maiden. That might be her Instagram handle. Don't quote me on that one.
Sure,
it's
she's
not
watching as well.
I will get back to you at a later date.
It's not a fail.
But she's somebody that her and her husband, they are running various businesses, and through her experience working for an outside company, she was basically thrown into welding. They were short of welders, and her boss came up to her and said, "Hey, we're going to need you to weld." And she's like, "Cool, okay." And that's really where she got her start. And now she's into doing custom staircases and other architectural items for, not staircases, like furniture, basically doing the metal components for wood and metal furniture for a company in town. And she's also getting into sculpture. So she's really another one of those individuals that can just really kind of pick up and figure out how to build things and make stuff.
So I'm going to ask you about, we do have a comment
It is
or a question.
605_Shield Maiden.
Who is watching this?
Oh, he has a computer and looked at it.
Oh! I was like, wow.
Yes.
605.
So our support staff, Garrett Slager, digital editor for thefabricator.com, new logo, and Brad Mill. Is there an S on that name?
No.
No, sorry. Brad Mill, just one, not multiple, helping us with the video aspect of all this. And plug, he does a very, very good job. One more question about January, February.
Sure.
Josh Welton, who is at Brown Dog Welding on your Twitter machine, probably Instagram as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Welder Assassin.
Well, oh, there you go. That sounds like Marvin the Martian here.
Yeah, he can blast somebody with his.
So he writes a column in the Welder called "Playing with Fire." Yeah, that's right. He writes about his day job, which
Yes.
I think is pretty interesting.
It is interesting, and it's not something that he gets to share on social media just because
Correct.
of the nature of
Because
the
it says
job.
here, so we can share it. He works for General Dynamics, a defense contractor.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that stuff they're not welcoming any Yahoo into their facilities with cameras and tape recorders. And so I still is it full time?
It's his full-time job.
Yeah,
He's
he's
in
busy.
he's in the prototype department, so you can only imagine what kinds of things that he gets to build. And
Right.
unfortunately for us, we don't get to see it on social media all the time. But
Right.
in this case, he got to go to a show. I wrote it down.
No, I got it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
It's AUSA Expo.
Yes.
I don't know what that
So
stands
the
for.
Association of the U.S. Army.
Oh wow.
So basically, all of these defense contractors get together and they get to show off all of their military offerings, and so this was a part where he got to share that with everybody there, and then share it with us because he wrote about it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think it also ties in with TPJ. When I hear all these different vocations, jobs, it all started with a skill. And sometimes I think, particularly with welding, you think you're going to end up doing that, get your head buried in the same bead, minute after minute, shift after shift, day after day, year after year. And I think that is sometimes people don't see what is possible. Not necessarily, they're just looking at the job in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, it's kind of neat to hear the different opportunities, whether it's, from small single person vantage point or a company who's looking to do just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And make that huge investment. Or even talking about hydraulic tubing, somebody's having to step forth and make that type of now that I'm saying it out loud, I don't really think that has anything to do with it. But nonetheless, it was an attempt to kind of pull everything together. But it kind of underlines that skills travel.
Mm-hmm.
And just because today sucks doesn't mean tomorrow has to.
Yeah. No, I did 5 years as an electronics technician in the Air Force, and I thought, I don't want to be an electronics technician my whole life. But I look on LinkedIn and I look up some of my friends from my Air Force days, and the career paths are as divergent as you can imagine.
Yeah.
So it's not the job or the career, it's the skill.
Right.
And it can lead to lots of different jobs and careers.
And sometimes those early jobs, as tough as they may be, you pick up different skill sets.
Yeah.
And B, different connections, different. Josh Welton being at a trade show. He obviously has no issue. Well, he gets out and about. He meets lots of people, but nonetheless, there's a opportunity sometimes when your employer allows you to actually take advantage of trade shows, networking opportunities, association meetings. So under discussed part of being in the metal fabricating industry, I think.
And I think, to your point, anybody that thinks that they have to have all of these highly developed skills right away, that's not necessarily the case. Right. Jason Hoynish from Blue Barn, and he made it a point to talk about his hiring process and what he looks for. And he doesn't look for anybody that's got all these great skills. He really just looks for people that want to learn.
Right.
And he has a relationship with his local tech school, and the two guys that he has working with him right now, I mean, they love building things, and
Yeah.
they came in and they learned, they were green, but
Right.
he was able to teach them, and you know, you really don't have to come out this polished person. You just have to
Right.
really have, I think, the ability to build things and just the,
Yeah.
you know, willingness to learn.
Yeah.
You don't
So,
have to be a Stradivari. You just have to be very good at what you do and build from there.
homemade fiddle.
A homemade fiddle.
Or maybe a cigar box with strings tied over
a
it.
diddley bow.
Is that what it's
That would be
called?
called a diddley bow, which is where Bo Diddley got his name.
There you go. I think it's the pride of Macomb, Mississippi. Bo
I don't know.
Diddley? I think so.
Yeah, could be.
Anyway, I think that means time is just about up. So
Wait a minute.
what-
Why are most barns that red color? Why are there so few?
to
blue
keep
barns?
low-flying aircraft from running into them?
Mm-mm.
That's a pretty good guess, though.
No.
Why is that?
I think in the early days of barns, the least expensive way to put some kind of a coating on it to protect the wood had to do with people just making do, and they made do with.
You tell me red was plentiful way back in the
It was-
early days of barn building?
I was told I had to look this one up because I heard this from a single dubious source many years ago. But
Oh,
had
it
to
sounds
do
like
with-
the internet. Go ahead.
That's my brother. It had to do with using like a ferrous oxide or ferric oxide, which is commonly known as rust. And they were using rust and mixing it with something else to create their own coating. Are you looking this up right now? The PA, the production assistant, is looking it up right now.
Yeah,
I would seal their barns with linseed oil.
It was
And then
linseed
they would do a
oil.
mix of ferrous oxide and also milk and lime, and that would turn just a red color.
Oh my.
It wasn't like they wanted it to be red. It just
Yeah.
came out that way.
This was the formula they used, and it caught fire. Well, oh no, let's not say caught fire. It caught on. You don't want to talk about a barn catching fire. It caught on. So there you go.
Wow. There you go. I did not
So
know that.
my highly dubious source, actually, he's not that dubious.
Do you have a focus wall in your house made from distressed barn wood?
Yeah, yeah, two. We went two of them.
Really?
It's not distressed barnwood, but it's something like that.
No kidding. Wow, how about that? I watch decorating shows, so yeah, good for you. Okay, any questions about tube and pipe, hydraulic tubes, violin making, barns, new fabricator logo,
No questions, but
career path?
I'm wondering why, or the next time you're gonna have props again?
It's not really a prop. You think that's a prop?
No, the slinky he had last
Oh,
Oh,
the slinky. Okay, so last time I had a slinky, and then this time, Brad Mill asked if I had a prop.
yeah.
And I should have brought one in. Last night, I actually stepped up my game and sweated some pipe at my house. And I should have brought in a little piece of copper pipe. I had a valve that was leaking, and it didn't seem like it was sufficient enough to call in a plumber. And I'd never sweated pipe before. And I really didn't want to. And I'm a big believer in the push-on fittings and all the different things you can do that are just push to connect. You can get lots of those, but they're very expensive. You could cap, a line that you don't want to use anymore with a 50-cent cap if you want to sweat that on there, or buy like a $10 cap that slips on. I'm like, well, I'll try to sweat some pipe. And I did that last night, and it held.
What is your sweating mechanism?
Propane torch. And some solder.
You had one of those?
Yeah.
What did you do with a propane torch?
We were distressing some wood. It was a,
I've seen that on
yes,
TV too.
Yeah. My wife was distressing some wood that she wanted to use to decorate something.
It's a
a while
Japanese
ago.
term. What do they call it? Do you know the term?
No, I do not.
I saw. I think
know
I did watch.
propane.
I actually saw that on my Alaska show.
I thought propane was
They
a
go
English
live out
term.
in, off the grid.
Mm.
Apparently, they
What-
need to live in distressed wood to make it feel even more rustic.
So what's the term?
Oh, I have no idea. It's a
You-
Japanese process, so
Oh, it's a Japanese process.
I don't know, Gareth.
I can't
You're-
read that. I don't
Oh, there's
where
not
do I
enough.
begin to
It's
look
not
at
enough keywords. All right. Wow, we've really covered some territory. So, thank you for your time, and I think we'll be getting back together to discuss both TPJ and the welder, probably coming up in
Just a few weeks.
late February, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
We'll
in the
discuss
meantime,
sweating pipe if I have an update for you.
yes,
Hopefully I won't.
that would be a plus for many reasons. Thank you for your time today, and please be sure and check out Fabricator.com, the Tube and Pipe Journal, the Welder, FMA annual meeting, and the Fabricator. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.